Namaste, it's Renee, and welcome to my podcast, Peace, Love, Abundance. In my podcast, I like to talk about several things from yoga and Ayurveda and health and nutrition to mastering your mindset and goal setting. Also, if you ever have any suggestions or feedback, I'd love to hear what you want to hear. And today we have my first interview. I'm really excited about this. This is my first interview for my Peace, Love, Abundance podcast. Today I have Carrie Lehtonen, and she is going to discuss how she at 31 survived a heart attack. That's super young, but at 31, she survived a heart attack and also knee surgery and discovered yoga, fell in love with yoga, became a yoga instructor, and also fell in love with yoga retreats. Retreats have been her kind of niche and specialty. She's hosted several of them, and she sets them up from beginning to end and has been very successful at doing this. So successful, she has even extended her business to becoming an expert that helps other people book their retreats. And with this service, she walks you through the whole process, takes care of the logistics and the organizing. So you as a yoga instructor or any kind of wellness advocate or corporate leader can do all the yummy stuff that you really want to do on your retreats. And she handles all the logistics. It's brilliant. And I'm really honored to have her as my first podcast interview. And I hope that you enjoy her podcast as well. Again, she survived a heart attack at age 31, so she's also a big advocate of the American Heart Association and taking good care of your heart. So let's listen to what she has to say. Also, in my show notes, you will notice there are links to her website for more information on her retreats and her services. So be sure and check that out, especially if you want to go on a retreat this November to the beautiful Costa Rica location, or in February of 2019 to Maui, which I will get to be a little bit of a part of, just a fraction. It's all Carrie's thing, but I'm totally going to crash it and be a guest at her retreat in Maui because I'll be living there by then. I'm so excited. All right, without further more to say, let me introduce Carrie Lehtonen and Firefly community. All right, everybody, here we have Carrie, and she's going to share with us her knowledge and her expertise and just how amazing she really is. So hi, Carrie, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Renee. I'm excited to chat with you.
Yes. And before we get started, I ask all my interviewees, what 3 things bring you peace, love, and abundance?
That's a great question. So for me, what brings me peace is being outside in nature, especially if I'm physically active outside. So if I'm hiking in the mountains or biking or out on the lake, paddleboarding or kayaking, those are the things that bring me peace. For love, definitely spending time with my friends and my family, including my 2 cats and my 2 dogs. And for abundance, I feel really fortunate that I get to do every day what I love and help other people be healthier and happier. So I feel like I have a lot of abundance in that respect.
Nice. That is you. From what I know of you, that's definitely you. You're your true, authentic self, and I love that about you and everything you said. So, Carrie, you have survived a heart attack. Can you tell us that story and how it impacted your life?
Yes. So when I was 31, I was out on a 60-mile bike ride with friends, which wasn't an unusual thing for me to be doing. I'm a triathlete, so I do a lot of running, biking, and swimming. And that particular day on the ride, I was experiencing symptoms that at the time I had no idea had anything to do with my heart. First, I was lightheaded, and then I had indigestion. Next, I started to feel pain in my neck and shoulder, all things that I attributed to something else. I was feeling lightheaded because I felt like maybe I didn't eat enough before we kicked off on the ride, I was thinking, oh, of course my neck and shoulder hurt because we've been biking for a period of time in the position on the bike. But it was in the last 10 miles of the ride that I started to have pressure in my chest. And again, it wasn't something that was super alarming. It just, it wasn't a sharp pain. It just felt like pressure. And that's what persisted when we got back to my friend's place at the end of the ride. And lucky for me, my friend insisted that we go to the hospital and insisted that we stay at the hospital when we were waiting in the emergency room for about an hour. Got in to see the doctor. They tested my gallbladder, gave me a GI cocktail, said, this will make you feel better. And by then I was getting really frustrated because I'd been there for hours and no one could tell me what was wrong with me and I wasn't feeling any better. And finally, the doctor looked at my chart and said, oh, you have a family history of heart disease. My father, my father's father and mother. And the minute he said that, I knew that's what was happening. And he probably saw the expression on my face and said, oh, don't worry, it's probably nothing. We just want to rule it out. So they did a blood test, and turns out my heart was in distress. They went into emergency mode. They said, we don't know what's wrong. We just know that your heart is in distress. The cardiologist has been called. You're going into the cath lab. It turns out I had a blood clot in my coronary artery. I was having a heart attack, and I wouldn't have survived had I not gone into the hospital that night. So after getting a stent, getting that blood clot out, I spent 3 days in the ICU, another day in the hospital, and then was sent home told, you can go back to work on Monday. It was a very eye-opening experience for me. Being 31 and surviving a heart attack made me start to really evaluate, am I doing what I want to be doing with my life? At the time, I was working in a human resources job. And it was a pretty stressful position, pretty stressful role, and climbing the corporate ladder. And I realized, this isn't really what I want. It's not what makes me happy. So started the journey of, what is it that I can be doing to be happier and healthier? So I went through a nutrition program, was certified as a holistic health practitioner rather, and started doing some health coaching. Still all the while working in human resources, but just starting that journey to finding my own health and happiness and how I could help other people do that as well.
Wow, that is quite the story. At age 31, you said, right?
Yes.
Wow. Whenever I think about even what I was doing at 31, it's way too young to even be contemplating something like that. And now you mentioned that you started becoming holistic practitioner and such, but even beyond that, even mentally, how did that change your life? I know you mentioned it made you really question whether you wanted to do what you were doing as far as job wise, your stressful HR job, but even, relationships, family, friends. What was the impact there?
Yeah, it was really a tough time for me because being 31, they actually recommended not sending me to a cardiac rehab program because they said it's not going to be your demographic. And so it was really hard because I didn't really have anybody to talk to who understood what had happened or what I was going through. The relationship that I was in at the time, my boyfriend had been out of town when it happened. So he didn't see everything. He didn't see me in the hospital. He didn't see the 4 days of recovery in the hospital. And so it was really tough because, I was given all this prescription medication and just sent on my way. So yeah, mentally it was really challenging. I did tap in with the American Heart Association and started doing some volunteer work with them. Also, that's where I started to learn more about heart disease and that it is the number one killer of women in the United States, which I, like many other people, thought of heart disease as a men's disease and something that you don't have to worry about until you're older. And so it was really eye-opening to learn all of that. And then also to learn that 80% of heart disease is preventable with lifestyle changes. And so that's what really kind of triggered me to be, what more can I do? I was already physically active, which I thought exercising was the right thing to be doing. But I also discovered, the huge importance of food. I started eating a plant-based diet and managing stress. So That's something I was not very good at doing, not very effective at. So learning that was something that was a big importance to me, and that probably played a big role actually in the fact that I had a heart attack when I was 31. I just had a lot of stress in my life that I wasn't managing effectively.
Right. Which brings us to how did you discover yoga?
Yeah. So about a year after my heart attack, I had knee surgery. I have no cartilage behind my kneecap. I have arthritis in my knee. So had knee surgery. I was in a brace for 3 months and then was told I had a 6-month recovery from that. And being someone who has always been physically active, I was going kind of crazy not being able to do anything. And so a friend of mine said, "Why don't you try yoga?" And at the time I was like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know if yoga's my thing. It's probably not for me." And, but I really couldn't do anything else. So I was like, okay, I'll give yoga a shot. So I called up a local studio, got hooked up with a teacher who could provide me with private lessons because I needed to know how to modify since I had just had knee surgery. In each one of those sessions, I laughed and I cried. And even though I came to yoga for the physical aspect, I began to notice that it was really the mental and emotional and spiritual side of yoga that connected with me and really pulled me in and made me realize there's so much more to this than I ever thought. So not too long after starting practicing yoga, I went through at the studio what they call yogi training, which is just to kind of enhance your practice. I ate up all of that. And so next thing I knew, I was signing up for the 200-hour certification teacher training program, more so just to learn more and to enhance my own practice. At the time, I didn't really think I would become a teacher. But I was working in a different HR job for another company, a much more flexible, manageable position. And the employees who I worked with asked me to start teaching them a class. So I started teaching yoga there in the corporate environment and realized, I love not only practicing yoga and all the benefits that I've experienced from it, but I love sharing that with other people and seeing the impact that it has for them. So I just started getting more and more into it. I went through a 300-hour advanced yoga teacher training. So now I'm a registered yoga teacher with 500 hours of training. Went through that in Costa Rica over a period of 3 years. World of yoga, as you know, is just so vast and there's always more to learn and always more to do. So I try to do some kind of training every year if I can. And also started going on and then taking people on yoga retreats as well. So that's become a big part of my life.
Wow. And also you do also teach still locally. Where all do you teach locally in Colorado, I should say?
Yes. And so I teach 3 classes, regular classes a week at Core Power. So I have at the Core Power in Flatirons in Brimfield, I have a Thursday morning hot power fusion at 8:15. And then I teach 2 classes at the Broomfield East location of Core Power, which is a Wednesday 4:30 p.m. hot power fusion and a Friday 10:45 core restore, which is a yin style of yoga. And then I do still teach some corporate classes too. So that's another aspect of my business that I teach corporate classes and teach a couple in Broomfield every week.
Nice. Like you said, a lot of your journey by getting the 300-hour in Costa Rica, like you said, even led to you doing the retreats. But just in general, real quick, what can somebody expect when they sign up for just a typical retreat, or what does it mean to go on a yoga retreat?
Yeah, so typically a yoga retreat, in my experience, has always been in a really beautiful location. Typically has the opportunity to practice yoga at least once or twice a day. Lodging is always included, which can include different options depending on the location. It could be different price points for accommodation options. You can pay a little more and have your own room in most cases for single occupancy, or a lot of places will have double or even triple occupancy for a reduced cost if you are willing to share a room with someone.
And I'm sure At first, it sounds a little bit odd that you might share a room with a stranger, but I'm sure a lot of relationships blossom from that community of getting together in a retreat in a beautiful place.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen in my own experience on retreats I've attended and led that there's always a great connection between people attending the retreat.
Right, getting some like-minded people together. You never know what happens.
Exactly.
And then, so your business, Firefly, what makes your retreats unique?
So with Firefly's retreats, the things that are really important to me and creating an experience for people is that they have an opportunity to connect with themselves, to connect with each other, and also connect with the place that they are, connect with nature. So one of the aspects that I always try to build into my retreats, we typically will practice yoga a couple times a day, usually a vinyasa in the morning and a yin or a restorative class in the afternoon. But I try to build in plenty of time for people to integrate what they're experiencing on retreat. So oftentimes, as you step out of your day-to-day life and you have all this time to yourself, oftentimes some things can bubble up for people and emotions can rise to the surface. So I like to include time in the retreat for people to either meditate or go for walks or just journal, have some time to really get more connected to themselves and get to enjoy the place where we are. So I really intentionally pick the locations as places that I feel like have a really great energy and also have a lot of great experiences that people can do. So providing time for them to get out and experience the place where they are. And then the other aspect that I feel is unique about Firefly's retreats is I keep the group small so that there is more personal attention and also more opportunity to connect on a deeper level with the people that you're traveling with. So typically my retreats are anywhere from 8 to 12 people that I have the opportunity to really get to know the people on the retreat, and also they have an opportunity to get to know each other.
So yeah, you have that intimacy to bond and again build those relationships. And you never know
Exactly.
what can happen when you get a group of like-minded people together.
Exactly.
How does food play into this? Do most retreats provide the food, or do you hire the chef yourself, or?
Yeah, so depending on the location of the retreat, oftentimes most of the places that I work with are retreat centers, and so they provide food. They have food on site. I have worked with other locations where the retreat leader actually cooks the food and provides the food, but food is definitely another major aspect that I feel is important. So definitely trying to find places that provide really healthy, good whole plant-based foods, and variety as well. But oftentimes it's more heavily focused on vegetarian food.
All right, Carrie, I know you've done several retreats. What are some of the destinations you've done?
So Costa Rica is one I've gone back to a couple times. I've also led retreats in Italy. Within the United States, I've led retreats in New Hampshire, which is where I'm originally from. And then also just this past weekend here in Colorado. And I've also co-led a retreat in India.
Wow, yeah, so Italy, India, and then, well, the U.S. and Costa Rica. But Italy is one that I don't hear about a lot, so that would have been a real treat, definitely.
Yeah, it was a great experience. And as I said, I like to provide opportunities for people to experience the place. So, for example, in Italy, we did a bike ride to local castles. We also did a tour of an olive oil farm. So, we got to taste fresh olive oil. So, yeah, really
Yum.
great experience. And Italy was certainly a place where food was a major focus and was really great.
That would be awesome. And you have a couple of retreats coming up. Can you explain to us the upcoming destination and itineraries that you have planned?
Yeah, absolutely. So my next retreat is the Bliss Balance and Beach Retreat, which is in Costa Rica. It's my third time leading this retreat. It's November 10th to the 17th. And so coming up soon, I do have still some spots available. It's at Blue Spirit, which is located in Nosara, Costa Rica, which is on the Pacific side on the Nicoya Peninsula. And that retreat will be doing practicing yoga a couple times a day, have that space sort of in the middle of the day where people can get out and enjoy excursions, whether it's zip lining or stand-up paddleboarding or surf lessons. It's located on a beautiful 3-mile stretch of beach, so really just a beautiful location. And Blue Spirit is a really amazing resort that has been hosting yoga retreats for many, many years. So they just really have everything beautifully dialed in, great food. So I'm really looking forward to getting back there again for the third visit, a third retreat. And then in 2019, February 16th to the 24th, will be my first time leading a retreat in Hawaii. And so it's actually a 9-day retreat because I wanted people to get to experience 2 different islands. So we'll be spending 4 nights in Maui and 4 nights in Kauai. And again, there'll be intentional yoga practices to help people tap into the things that they're passionate about, tap into the things that make them happy and feel healthy. And then also an opportunity to enjoy the beauty that is Hawaii. So all that natural beauty there.
Yeah, and I'm excited about that one because I will be living in Maui when you come down for that one.
Yay!
And I'm excited to see you and drop in and kind of be a guest. And possibly, maybe, I don't know, you and I need to still work out what we want to do, but possibly help lead a hike or some paddleboarding or something. So I'm really excited to, in a way, have you come down there and I can connect with somebody from Colorado while we're down in Hawaii. So I'm super excited. But both of those trips sound amazing because I've always wanted to go to Costa Rica myself. So, Carrie, also for any yoga instructors listening or anyone just looking to do retreats, part of your business is also to help others coordinate and handle the logistics of organizing a retreat. Can you tell me a little bit more about that part of your business?
Absolutely. So it's a relatively new service that I'm providing, but I have worked with one teacher already. And it doesn't have to be yoga retreats, but I find that a lot of yoga instructors in particular have a desire to lead a retreat, but maybe are not so sure about handling all of the logistics and all the coordination, all the details. And so the service that I provide is to handle all of that coordination and, working with the resort, the retreat center, handling all of the registrations and payments and everything from retreat participants, handling all of those logistics so that the yoga teacher or wellness leader can bring their group and just show up and do what they do best. So kind of taking all the worry off of their plate in terms of, handling all those little details. And so it's definitely an area that I'm excited to do more of because it can reach more people and help other wellness professionals and yoga teachers be able to make a retreat happen so that they can share their unique gifts with the groups. And I handle everything else for them so that they can do what they do best.
Right. That sounds awesome. Me being a yoga instructor of almost 10 years now, but retreats have always been this mystery to me. And so that would sound really amazing because I've always wanted to do a retreat, but I don't know where to start. Mm-hmm. And then the fear of all those details. So I think you've found a really cool niche that people need and could totally utilize with the fact that you have scheduled and held several retreats yourself. I would totally trust you with all that organization and logistics. And then knowing, like you said, I can focus on the yummy part, the part that I love to do and want to do. So I definitely think that that's a great concept to add to your business. And I hope that all that works out well for you. And also when you say it doesn't have to be a yoga retreat, What would be some other ideas like wellness or meditation?
Exactly. It could be meditation. It could be Tai Chi. It could be even like a writing retreat. So it could be a creative retreat, just anything that would involve, getting a group of people together and bringing them to a destination to help them get away from their day to day so that they can get more focused on something, whether it's yoga or meditation or writing.
So even like a corporate bonding, a business that wants to take their employees somewhere, get them off job sites and bond and brainstorm or whatever they need to do.
Yeah, get them in a more creative environment, get them out of get them away from the white walls.
Right? Because I know that's super popular. Like, for instance, Lumeria, where you're hosting your Maui retreat, is where Oprah used to take. I don't know if she still does, but at one time, Lumeria was a very popular place that even Oprah would take her team, her business team, to Lumeria and do corporate retreats. So that's really cool that you guys are going to be hanging out where Oprah does.
Yeah, that's funny. I didn't know that. So that's exciting.
Yeah. Well, Oprah even has a house on Maui. But yeah, when she would do corporate retreats for her business team or her production team or whatever you want to say, she would use Lumeria for that.
Nice.
Yes. There's a good little trivia for you. So Carrie, how can people reach you about your retreats or even your services to help coordinate and book retreats?
I do have a website, so it's fireflycommunity.com. And on the website, I have different tabs that people can go to. So if it's an individual who's interested in attending one of our retreats, we have an events retreats tab that will bring you to a summary of all the retreats that are coming up and then links to the individual retreat pages where people can register. And then for wellness leaders or yoga teachers who are interested in utilizing our services to coordinate a retreat, I have a services tab, and underneath that there's a retreat leaders section. So there's also a little questionnaire on there to help people get an idea of whether they're ready to lead a retreat. So if they fill out that intake form, I'll call them and go through their answers and just kind of talk about their readiness for leading a retreat as well. So all of that can be found at fireflycommunity.com. If people want to call, the phone number is 720-744-0603. I can also be reached via email, which is Carrie, Carrie, at fireflycommunity.com.
Nice. I love the idea that you have a questionnaire so that somebody thinking about doing this, because who knows? You don't know if you are ready for it or not. So I like that concept that you're going to even guide them through that process. Mm-hmm. Possibly maybe to make sure they don't get in too deep.
Right, exactly. Or, if it's someone who, themselves maybe is a little nervous about travel or, just kind of going through all those aspects of it. Because certainly, especially international travel, you never know what's going to come up. Things oftentimes don't go exactly as planned. So just kind of preparing people for what to expect when leading a retreat as well.
And we all have that inner critic in us that sets up limiting beliefs to believe, like me, all these years I've been too nervous to try, but maybe after filling out your form, I might realize I'm more prepared than I thought I was too.
Right, exactly.
Nice. Well, I'm super excited for you, Carrie, and thanks for being here. Do you have anything else you want to share?
No, I think that covers everything. I just really appreciate your time, and I'm really excited for all the wonderful things that you do to share your gifts with the world. So thanks so much for hosting this podcast and for having me on.
Yes. It's a beautiful thing when you find your dharma, right? What you're meant to do and meant to be, and then following that path. It's just very fulfilling. Yeah. So thank you, Carrie, for being here. I will sign off here by sharing with you peace, love, abundance, and namaste.
Namaste.